The biggest battles in Boland schoolboy rugby begin right here in match number 4 of the Super Quick Premier Interschools Series of 2019. Paarl Roos is 153 years old and Paarl Gym is 161. And this year, as so often is the case, these are two of the best schoolboy teams in the country. The weather is spectacular. It looked cloudy this morning, but it is cleared up, and this should be a perfect day for running rugby. Right now we're looking at the tunnel created by the Paarl Gym, and to the right of them you can see the Paarl Roos boys in their iconic maroon. Plenty of history from both of these two schools, and Paarl Roos join us after they recently won the Sanix World Youth Tournament in Japan, where they beat teams from Russia, Japan, England, Australia and New Zealand, eventually coming out victors by 52 points to 5 against St. Peter's of New Zealand. And there is some of the history that we are talking about. So many Springboks created by these two schools, more so by Paarl Gym than Paarl Roos. Damian Willemse, one of the superstars who have recently come out of the Paarl Roos program. And recently, since the year 2000, it has been very well balanced. Paarl Gym have been more successful than the last 5 years. However, Paarl Roos will be looking to set that right here today. They did win the previous match between these two sides just last year out there in Paarl. To the left today in the commentary box is none other than Mthunzi Mabeta. He played for the Bulls, and of course, or more importantly rather, he was coached by one of the coaches coaching here today. Mthunzi, can you tell me, who was your coach?
Good to be here, Paul Stubbs. A fantastic day for some fantastic rugby, hopefully. Yes, I did get coached by Peter Rousseau during my last years at the Blue Bulls. Slap Chips is what he's known as, an absolute legend of Springbok rugby. So good to be here today and to see him go full circle and now coach a team he once played for. The Paarl Roos side who's just come back from that World Tournament, as you said, Paul, looking really strong. Look out for Kate Volhuter, who has been fantastic for them last year, and I'm sure he's been doing the same for them this year. Everyone is keen, Paul.
Everybody is, Mthunzi. Also keep your eyes out for Stravino Jacobs of Paarl Gym. He was SA Schools last year. He played first team. He played Craven Week. And coming onto the field now are the Gummies. Led out by Marco van Rijn, younger brother of Ernst van Rijn of Marties, and now the Stormers, and his twin brother Johan van Rijn is on the bench. The head boy and the deputy head boy of their school. There he is, linchpin player for the side as well, very important in the line out in the scrum. As we see the Paarl Gym pupils rushing back to the stands. What a sight it is in Stellenbosch today. And here are the glorious settings. Look at the background to that grandstand, but look at these maroon boys making their way onto the Marcotta. Captained by the number 8, Jared Cairns. With a tunnel created by the young school members. He's very impactful, Jared Cairns. He was the captain of the Western Province Academy Week team just last year. Paarl Roos will be without Dylan DeLeeuw, their linchpin lock, and Ruben Labuschagne, who is their captain. He's injured and he will be down for a while. He's going to miss out on a number of matches this season. Big loss. There on your screen, Amy Barrett-Taran, who will have the whistle. And she should have a job on her hands today, because this will be a match played at a high pace. These Boland teams do not hold back, Mthunzi.
I'm looking forward to Ricky Schroeder, our man in Afrikaans commentary, scored a hat-trick on this very field a decade ago.
And he was telling us about it, wasn't he, Mthunzi? Saying there was a show and go and a goose step, all sorts involved.
Brilliant day for rugby. Look out for the Jola Bola at the end of the game. Coming from the Paarl Roos side.
We are underway. Marco van Rijn trying to get underneath this, and van Rijn did get there. Ended up knocking the ball on. Here's Robbie Rogers. Comes from prestigious rugby family. Immediately into the action, Jared Cairns. Zander Botha in the 9. Very short they played first, Paarl Roos. Robbie Rogers again. Botha. Again around the corner to Andre Smit. Keeping it conservative early on are Paarl Roos. And now Kate Volhuter is well marked, and Paarl Gym pushing up. trying to contest at that ruck. They will not be able to. Botha away to Calvin Louis, who was brought into the starting lineup as a replacement for Dylan DeLeeuw. And Arnu Hionop shifted to lock from flank. And Dylan DeLeeuw will be a big miss for Paul Roos, who are controlling possession admirably here through the 7th phase. Andre Smit. Botha. Voliter. The show and go from Cade Croy. He's a dangerous player. Botha, and back to Croy again. He's lost control of the ball on the ground. That should be knock-on advantage to Paarl Gym, or will they secure this ball? Bobby Alexander under pressure, and we'll have our first set piece of the match.
Wow, Paul Stubbs. The game has started off at an incredible pace. Cade Croy hits a half gap, finds his scrum off on the inside, gets the ball back, and great covering tackle coming in from Ethan James. What a start from Paul Roos.
"18 kilograms between the two packs, but bear in mind you can only push 5 meters in schoolboy rugby. So if you have your technique right, you can protect against the fact that you have a weaker scrum. But it will be interesting to see how this battle, which way this battle leans. Bobby Alexander. He's at the back of the scrum, away to Stravino Jacobs, isolated on the blind side. Definitely the danger man for Paarl Gym, allowed to bounce by Cade Croy. There's plenty of time to think about life. Ronan Daniels now is replacing Ruben Labuskaghni in that inside center jersey. There's Tian Pretorius, the cousin of Kwagga Smith. Zander Botha to Robbie Rogers. Nothing too expensive from Paul Roos early on. They continue to control possession, and they're across the halfway line. Daniel Swart was well met. Botha still using his big boys to make ground. Paarl Gym attempting the turnover. Cannot execute. Robbie Rogers again involved in the crash work. Support of Meyering Eberson. Make sure that ball gets to ground. And Botha now plays it to the bind. Voliter to it, onrushing Tian Pretorius. Pretorius beats the first defender and the second before being dragged down outside the 22-meter line. Zander Botha. That pass has evaded a number of potential receivers, and it's Andre Smit who must tidy up. Paarl Gym unable to get hands on the ball to force a turnover. For the number of phases which Paul Roos are piling up again, we're beyond the 8. Botha, Cade Voliter, Pretorius. No spaces opening in the stalwart line of Paarl Gym, and Reinhard Kroos makes the tackle for the Gimmies. Meyering Eberson straight into the face of Stefan de Tooy and friends, and they drive him backwards, and now pushing through the ruck is Gerard van Niekerk. Uncompromising stuff from Pierre Siebert, and it has been turned over. Bobby Alexander away to Juan Wilson. That is a strong tackle on Tian Swanepoel. Just one of the players who played in the first team for Paarl Gym last year. A lot of consistency from this side, who have only lost one match this year, and that to the almighty Grey College of Bloemfontein. And that is launched straight downfield by Jandre Burger. Not interested in building the phases, as are Paul Roos so far. Cade Croy looks for touch. Here's Stravino Jacobs. Cade Voliter is there to meet him. Western Province Craven Week teammates. Bobby Alexander digs in. And finally, Paarl Gym have their chance to attack. It's Gerard van Niekerk. Bobby Alexander off to Jandre Burger. And it's Reinhard Kroos taking it in. Alexander, numbers running out for Paarl Gym on that side, but they still go that way. Jandre Burger out to Ethan James with a fantastic pass, and Burger's there on the inside again. Jandre Burger sends it out to Gertza, and Gertza is going in under the bar.
Brilliant finish off, but the try all started with this beautiful turnover. They've got a big tight 5. Look at the number 7, Paarl Siebert, doing good work on the ground. Great pass by Ethan James. The try scorer, Gertze, finds his fly half, Jandre Berger, and Berger finds him back again. Brilliant interplay by the backline to finish off some hard work by the forwards. Gertze, take a bow. What a game we have on our hands.
There's some of the old boys in the stands. Of course, Paarl Gym, one of the only co-ed schools to compete at the highest level of South African schoolboy rugby. They only have about between 400 and 550 odd boys to choose from, and yet they compete every year with schools that have 1,300 plus. And it's Kate Cruyff for the kickoff. Paul Roos get us back underway. That is an outstanding take from Marco van Rijn. And Paarl Gym full of confidence, although they've been without the ball for 90% of this match. What a try, what a difference a try will make.
Paul Roos doing very well to turn over at kickoff time. That's their second one now, putting pressure on Paarl Gym, so they get the ball to attack. Paarl Gym's defense looks unbreakable so far, though.
Crouch. Bind. Set.
Gummy guts rather are in evidence on defense early on in this match. And Paul Roos on the attack again. It's Botha out to Kate Voliter. Look at him go. He is deceptive. And what a ball that is to Berger. Luke Berger beats his man. Berger still going within a couple of meters of the line now. Quick ball needed. The pop to the outside comes from Andre Smith, and is Kate Voliter in the corner.
Happy with the try. Thank you.
The Paul Roos old boys celebrate, and Kate Voliter, the talisman of Paul Roos, is in.
Brilliant finish coming in from Kate Voliter, who is the nucleus of this side. Quick ball is taken out by Andre Smith. He does so well to find his fly off. Kate Voliter alive out on the wing, but look at Luke Berger breaking through the tackles. It was brilliant play by the backline. Voliter, the center of that play, he comes blind and finds space. Brilliant finish. Still so much work to be done by the mercurial Kate Voliter.
Oh, here's Mr. Voliter himself. Craven Week last year. His future is shining bright, and a star, of course, at the Sanix Festival, which they won. With the support of the crowd calling get in the hole, Kate Voliter nails it.
Well, the magic worked for them. We see a flat pass coming from Kate Voliter. That's what puts through Luke Berger. It's a half gap. But look at the work from Kate Voliter to work all the way blind and to finish out in the corner. Beautiful work for Paul Roos.
Playing fly-up last year, Voliter. Playing fullback, rather. He looks outstanding in the 10. Up goes Anu Hienop. What a take that is from the lanky man who was down to start at flank, moved to lock. And clearly he's got the height to do that. Here's Ronan Daniels. Very confident in their ball retention, Paul Roos. Right from the kickoff, they're running it at their opposition, and Corne Veilbach does well to hold on to that ball. Paarl Gym see another opportunity to attack a breakdown. And although they did look like they were coming in the side on that occasion,
Win the contest, go all the way through forward.
when they do get up for the contest, they go in hard.
That's a lost opportunity for Paarl Gym to put some pressure on the silky smooth Paul Roos side. We spoke a little bit about Peter Rousseau, the coach of Paarl Gym. But let me tell you something about Marinus Pretorius, the Paul Roos coach, one of the best coaches at schoolboy rugby level in the world. You see how they keep their shape correct. Hard work done by Jared Cairns, the captain.
Oh, Paarl Gym at the front of the line of the contest is tapped down to Bobby Alexander. And now all of a sudden they're under pressure as Low Nell is running at them. Fighting for the ball there, Jared Cairns for Paul Roos, but Paarl Gym have a rare chance at possession here. Gerard van Niekerk. Now it's Bobby Alexander to Jandre Burger. Stefan de Toor in the 12 jersey, and now driving back Tiaan Swanepoel.
Huge hit.
As Paul Roos' defense is strong. That time it's Andrew Pegg, the right wing, putting in a telling hit. Bobby Alexander sees something to work. Oh yes! Bobby Alexander! Bobby Alexander down the center. He's beaten a couple. What a run that is from the number 9. Of course, another one of the Craven Week representatives from these two sides. Tiaan Swanepoel using his footwork and gaining some ground. Now into clear is a try scorer, Gertze. Bobby Alexander. That's Burger. Consistent possession now from Paarl Gym. We haven't seen this yet in this match. Alexander off to Jandre Burger. Burger's in a gap. Burger looking for options. He tries the chip. It is charged down by Cade Croy. Everything is all right and we're playing on. Charging in there was Peter Siebert. Missed out on potential provincial accolades due to sickness last year. He is one of the finer players in this Paarl Gym side. Bobby Alexander as Paarl Gym play under advantage. They're building to something here.
Ruck was formed there, gents. Where's the captain? You got a penalty over here for hands in, or you got a penalty over there for offside?
Interesting decision
Here you go.
from the captain.
Any of those is fine.
Takes the penalty a little bit further away from the post.
Where you are?
Oh, and they will be going for touch. So trying to get closer to the touch line instead of closer to the post. Interesting strategy. They clearly back themselves. They back their line out. We saw they can compete really well. Some late changes to that Paul Roos forward pack. Calvin Lewis coming in at flank, and the flanker Arno Hienop coming in at number 5. So Paarl Gym may be looking at that and wanting to take advantage of some late changes in the Paul Roos side.
Let's get a sub on for him.
Oh, there's the try scorer appears to be making his way off the field. Kerwin Gertze, part of the South African under-18 sevens team, of which Tiaan Pretorius is opposition number 13 today, is the captain.
I said it wasn't necessary. I spoke to them and said, but they overheard.
Every facet of this game is vital.
Let me check.
So somebody's overruling what I'm saying.
If it's the match doctor, then it's
not
them.
the doctor.
Okay.
It's a medic.
Ben, is that confirmed that it's from a medic, that it's HIA? Because the Paarl Gym doctor says no, he's happy he plays.
Well, here we go, Mtunzi. This is very important. It's about player
The
safety.
Paarl Gym doctor said he was cleared to play, so is it the match doctor that's now called him off, or is it just the medic, or your call? I've got the, if the medic says no, then no.
Well,
Okay, then. Okay, so we're just waiting for the sub and then we're going to play.
I think this is the best call, Mtunzi.
Yes, your sub.
If there's a potential head injury situation, let's get it checked out. It's as simple as that. I don't understand why would it be any other way.
Great call from the referee, Amy Barrett-Turan. Player safety always comes first.
Thank you, Ben.
Head injuries have been a big focus for SA Rugby, doing well at schoolboy level as well. So,
Time back
Dutoy
on.
then comes on for Gertze, who'll
Let's
be
go,
checked
gents. We had
out.
all that time to talk. Let's go.
The try scorer at least got that under his belt before leaving the pitch.
To the front of the line out. And Paarl Gym take a wonderful one. They set a rolling maul of note here. Can they get it moving forward? At the back of it is Peter Siebert. Everything legal so far from both sides. Paarl Gym, the momentum has left them here, and they might just be held up because there was no path for the ball to get out there. It is all folded in on itself. And surely we'll hear the whistle soon. No, we will not. It's coming back on Paul Roos' side. What a turnover ball that is.
Yeah, Paul, it was great work by what looked like Robert Rogers, who right in the middle of that Look at him come through the middle,
gents.
get his ball, his hands on the ball, and that, wow, that is huge defensive work from the big loose forward, loose head.
Did you say wait? Okay, we're gonna play. That's it.
Paarl Gym have another opportunity to set the line out. Not too much further back from where they had their previous one. Compion feeds. There's a great feed, and Paarl Gym now pile into the rolling maul again. Paul Roos have no interest in sacking it early on. They think they can resist the force that Paarl Gym are bringing. Not enough protection for the ball carrier for Paarl Gym, and he's been wrapped up again. This time it's illegally so.
In from the side.
Oh,
number
the
6
small
coming around the
Bobby
side.
Alexander. He's definitely
Starting
psyched for this game. Taking back that number 6, Andre Smith, who came from an offside position that time. So the Paarl Gym will have another goal.
You can't change your bind though to get around him.
Look at how well set that maul is. Everyone in a low body position, including the defensive side. So
Give me half a minute.
brilliant
Open.
technique shown, just like in that tackle by the small Bobby Alexander.
Never say die, Bobby Alexander. Here's Liam Compion. Feeds the line out. This one's not going so well, and Paul Roos almost get their hands on. It's a knock-on. And a number of opportunities going for the line out instead of taking the 3 points from Twinsy hasn't paid off on this occasion.
No, exactly, Paul. This is a huge game, and I didn't understand the decision at first. Just goes
your shoulders
wrong
to
for
set
them
higher,
that
please.
time, and you know, you do risk it every time you want to take a set phase. It can be competed, and Paul Roos rise to the occasion that time.
On the other hand, Twinsy, maybe Paarl Gym feel they need to impose their physicality on Paul Roos in order to win this match.
Bind. Sit.
Zanderboerter feeds. That scrum is solid from both sides. Hard into the line, Ronan Daniels. They set a good ruck, breaking straight up the center now. That's visionary play from Tiaan Pretorius. And the kick over the top is not chased back. It's Gertza who's back on the field after that HIA, apparently. And now piling into that ruck. Tiaan Pretorius and friends for Paul Roos. They are not giving up.
From the back, is the scrum off.
Happy with that. Amy
Back
Barrett
foot.
to run that the hands were not in the ruck, that he was the scrum half that picked that one up.
Dangerous tackle by the shoulders. One.
Penalties starting to rack up now against Paul Roos.
If he's the guy that's breaching the rock, can he pick up the ball?
I was happy with that
Paarl
last
Gym
breakdown.
will
I
be
love that
happy
one.
having another opportunity to apply some pressure in the Paul Roos half.
Yeah, as long as his feet are behind. But he's got, if he's bound here, if it's hands, not bound. Yeah.
Both sides have definitely pitched up to play.
Numbers.
Hold him.
And you
Guys,
see
give
Robert
numbers,
Rogers'
please.
hand just
Otherwise, I'm
slides
just
up.
going to wait.
Nothing malicious there, but a penalty nonetheless. 4 penalties to the 0 of Paarl Gym.
That is a beautiful line out going to Reinhard Kroos at the back, and now into the line Stravino Jacobs, the danger man for the Gimmies. Bobby Alexander keeps it moving to Siebert. Oh, Siebert, he fears nobody in this Paul Roos side. Alexander blind again, and his Burger off to Swanepoel. Swanepoel taking men on. Tiaan Swanepoel with the dancing feet. Very confident on attack, very clinical as well, Paarl Gym. Bobby Alexander off to the big boys. Alexander this time to low null. Can Paul Roos get hands on? No. Alexander to Jandre Burger again now, back on a hard angle. Their strong inside center, Stefan de Toit. Bobby Alexander, Van Niekerk. A speculative ball, which now lands with Stravino Jacobs, who has a lot of work to do. Taken down by 2 Paul Roos boys. Can they consolidate here? Gimmies, no. Bobby Alexander's lost control. Will this one stay in? Absolutely not.
Brilliant defense from Paul Roos. No gaps at all, a solid line, and also great presence of mind to select which rucks to
Yes, yes,
attack.
madam.
Those would be the ones out wide where the Paarl Gym players are more
I want to bring a
prone
gap,
to be
please.
isolated. Strategically perfect from Paul Roos so far.
4, gents. 2 by 2.
Lots of calls for numbers from the touchline. Plenty of coaching staff here. What a line-out that is. Now setting the rack in the midfield. Paul Roos attacking that one. They get no hands on it. Bobby Alexander away to his captain Van Rijn. Van Rijn off to Siebert. The offload was positive in terms of thinking, negative in terms of execution, and Paul Roos must now exit their own half. Although they've been keen to run at all times. Here's a man who's gone on a great run already, Luke Berger. Buerta. Into contact there, Paul Roos. And here's Robbie Rogers after the run of Corne Veilbach. Making great use of their front rankers. Kate Voliter on the blind. Oh, that's a fantastic step. Still a one-on-one situation defensively on the outside. The big Jared Cairns taking it in. Calvin Lewis not down to start this match. And Dylan DeLeo was taken out of contention. And Gerard van Niekerk will not be allowed that turnover ball.
And that'll be the test for Paarl Gym. Paul Roos keep the ball so well. They keep changing the point of attack. Very difficult to defend against. The challenge will be on Paarl Gym if they can keep their discipline right. Volhuter looks a little bit injured. He's been so involved in the game so far. We mentioned how he played fullback last year. Good to see him at the fly-off position. Loves getting involved. I think it was the counter ruck against him that twisted him, just bruised his knee. That was the penalty. And Paul Roos have another opportunity. It's been traffic coming from Gimmies so far. Paul Roos now inside the Gimmies half with the line-out opportunity.
Numbers don't look too good for them.
Listen to your player here, guys. Open. You need to open.
In it comes from Iverson. Another failed line out from Paul Roos. And it's picked up by Liam Compion. Looked like it might have been a knock. Yes, it was a knock in the midfield. It will be a scrum down to Paul Roos. 5 out of 5 line-outs for Paarl Gym, 0 out of 2 for Paul Roos.
It's to your advantage.
Not going right for Paul Roos at line-out time. A little bit too predictable there. Taking it at the back.
Otherwise, free ball for you.
Paarl Gym knew it was going, a great compete coming in from them. The reason you want to go to the back of that line-out is to open it up for your backs. They looked like they had some space. Gersa looking a little bit excited.
Fine.
Been a good battle at scrum time.
Set. Up. Stay up.
That it has, and long may it last, and it's lasting right now. Paul Roos moving forward at the end. Zander Buerta off to Voliter. Voliter to Pretorius, who was well met.
Rock. Let it go.
Buerta, he sent it to the open side to Meiring Iverson. And will this Paarl Gym defense continue to be as stalwart as it was in the opening salvos of this match? It's Robbie Rogers again. The nephew of Marius Herter, Robbie Rogers is. Andre Smith there to protect, and he will pick and go as well.
Let's go, gents.
Paarl Gym marshalling the edges of this ruck. And once more, Paul Roos being forced to come up with ideas. Kate Croy steps into the fly-off position. Tiaan Pretorius turns to the boot, and it's on the fingertips of Tiaan Swanepoel, who does manage to drag it in. And will he be able to set the ball back for his teammates? That's a powerful counter-rack. There was no release from the Paarl Roos boys, and a penalty goes against them.
Great play from Paarl Gym. Tiaan Swanepoel, some fancy hands. He's able to collect the ball, which was putting them under pressure, and that stays in field.
Very much so. Not the greatest kick, and Kate Croy can pick up on it. Here's the dangerous Luke Berger. Luke Berger, this time he's being watched. This Paarl Gym defense, clearly they are focused on that aspect of their match, having to evade their Calvin Lewis, the late replacement. Big hits.
Did you overview? James, give us some space. Captain, we've had a great game so far. Now we have an off-the-ball charge here. There wasn't much force in it, but it's unnecessary, okay? So there's a penalty against you here. Sorry. Off the ball,
You see Pierre Siebert from Paarl Gym. taking advantage of the big Paarl Roos player off the ball. So Paarl Gym getting let down by discipline as Cade Volhuter.
Take a look at that there, Mtwenzi. Those are the Drakensberg Mountains. What a beautiful place to go to school. I mean, this whole Stellenbosch region is just so glorious.
And an amazing day. Not much wind, a slight breeze. So the first kick being taken for post now. And a good decision from Paarl Roos. Cade Volhuter. 1 out of 1 kick so far. It was a conversion right in the corner, so he backs himself. He's got a fantastic boot on him.
Looks like that boy backs himself as well. It's a hefty old kick. It's close to the halfway line for Cade Volhuter on a serious angle as well. That strike is clean. Is it going over? What a kick that is from Cade Volhuter.
They love it in the stands. They're playing on their home ground. And Cade Volhuter can't do a thing wrong so far in this match.
Which way are you going? Which way are you going?
Both sides looking so dangerous with ball in hand. You'd have to think it will come down to the last 20 minutes or who can capitalize at set phase.
Tiaan Swanepoel with the kicking duties. Underneath this, not having to jump to receive, is Daniel Swart. And perhaps that late change in the locks for Paarl Roos is the reason behind their struggles at line-out time. What a ball that is to the cutting Andre Smit, who's been impactful on the run early on. Cade Volhuter, everything about his game is crisp. Inside ball from Pretorius. Cade Croy, now this is Luke Berger. Slightly scrappy from Paarl Roos Gymnasium. Now they set the ruck. And Paarl Gym tried to get a man onto that ball. Botha off to Rogers. Cleared by Corne Veilbach. Fantastic clearance. Cade Volhuter sees some space back here. Will this ball stay in field? If so, Swanepoel will have some work to do. And Tiaan Swanepoel, he's lost the ball in contact. Jared Cairns trying to execute a tackle on Stravino Jacobs, who's having none of that.
Push back.
Bobby Alexander. And this is Gerard van Niekerk. Bobby Alexander. Jandre Berger. With the little ball that Paarl Gym have had, they've worked it extremely well. Pierre Siebert, just one of the culprits in terms of that for the Gummies.
One hand on, too late.
Paarl Roos just not keeping their discipline. That time was Meiring Eberson, the hooker. Just not keeping their discipline. Paarl Gym just needs to keep the phases going. You'd think that a turnover would come if Paarl Roos keep patient. They make that mistake, give a penalty, and now Paarl Gym have an opportunity to get closer and deeper into the Paarl Roos half, an attacking position.
There are some of the Gummies. Plenty of famous alumni that Paarl Gym do have.
So hard to play here at Paarl Roos. Definitely a home ground advantage. They're feeling that with a huge crowd, loud as well.
Huge advantage. That line out is another brilliant one, and it's tapped down off the top by Marco van Rijn. What a ball! That's away to Stefan du Toit, who keeps his feet. Stefan du Toit is going to score an absolute screamer of a try.
Inside center, Stefan du Toit, brilliant. Paarl Gym away from home, up on their feet. What an offload coming from Van Rijn. But look at the strength, just a little too easy. Gliding through tackles. Brilliant finish by Stefan du Toit, all the way from the halfway line, straight from a set phase.
Now this game is cranking up. We've got less than 5 minutes to play in the first half now. This should be a formality for Jandre Berger. Berger lines it up, kicks it high, and it is over. 14 points to 10 away from home. Paarl Gym lead in the Winelands Derby.
Brilliant line out. Good pass from Bobby Alexander, but that's the golden moment. Brilliant offload. And Stefan du Toit still has so much work to do. Beats the fullback a little too easily. Try time.
Kept his feet so well. What a balanced runner. Would have loved to see him against Ruben Labuschagne, captain and hero of this Paarl Roos side, who's now injured. Picked up an ankle injury out there at Sanix. And again, it is Gerard van Niekerk. Does a lot of hard work on that carry, but immediately Paarl Gym spread it much faster than Paarl Roos already to in their possessions. Try to get it to the outside backs, who are very dangerous. Ethan James, who played at the Grand Coma week, which is the under-16 Craven week, just last year. Numbers to the left here for Paarl Gim. Great defense from Paarl Roos, rushing up, cancelling those options. Alexander in again. Berger keeps it moving. That is powerful stuff from Siebert. Bobby Alexander. It's Reinhard Kroos who carries in. Alexander again. Jandre Berger. Almost chopped down, was low null. Bobby Alexander, Jandre Berger. Ethan James, and that's Swanepoel outside to Gertze. Gertze's around his man, and now he's cutting in. He's got something on his mind here, Gertze.
Wow.
Gertze's gonna step. He's going all the way as though he's Peter Rousseau himself. What a phenomenal try for Paarl Gim.
Kerwin Gertze, take a bow. They just keep their ball going. They pass it down the line. They love swinging it around. But look at this man. He knows how to attack space, change of direction. He looks like a Rolls Royce. There's no stopping him. It's too easy. Gertze, brilliant play.
Well, he's putting his hand up for the best player on this field right now, Gertze. Stravino Jacobs was the danger man, just to remind you. He plays on the opposite wing for Paarl Gim with the number 11 jersey. He's just been doing hard work so far because Paarl Roos have him marked up. But Gertze has proven to be a danger man.
So much talent on this pitch.
And now for the chance to turn a 9-point lead into 11. It is Jandre Berger. Berger, that one will be swinging away. Failed to negotiate the conditions there, but that man has not failed to negotiate anything. Gertze, he's back from an HIA and he's under the bar once more.
What an individual try. First he hands off that man, burns that man, 2 defenders beaten. There's your 3rd defender beaten. 4th defender beaten, and it's just too much gas. He knows his way to the corner. What a try.
Up it goes. Oh, that is another huge hit there from Pierre Siebert. People are lining him up for hits, but he returns the favor every time. And here's the replacement, Arno Hiernop. While he was starting at flank, he moved to lock. Kate Voliter. Oh, that ball is a beauty to Ronan Daniels. Ronan Daniels now he just needs to unleash his man on the outside. This is turning into a real cracker of a match. It's Luke Berger for Paarl Roos.
Wow, there is a roar at this stadium. Brilliant work coming in from Ronan Daniels. How he got that pass out to Luke Berger, I don't know, but what a finish from the big man on the wing. It came from that turnover from Arno Hiernop, the big number 5.
Oh, the joys of being a new boy, Mtunzi.
That's that home ground advantage we were talking about. Flags and all. Mountains in the background. Beautiful rugby. What a pleasure, Paul.
What a pleasure indeed. The atmosphere here is electric. Rugby in the winelands, I'm telling you. It's like nothing nowhere else on earth, this. Running rugby, enjoyable stuff. And this young man is continuing to show his skills today. It's Kate Voliter. Young Cade Voliter with the Paarl Roos crowd behind him, fails to convert that one. And there's Luke Berger. He's looking dangerous today.
Came from the turnover. They keep the ball well. Look at how Volhuter just plays a brilliant short ball to Ronan Daniels, who passes the ball wide to Luke Berger. Fantastic finish.
It'll be a shock to Paarl Gym, who have defended so well in this first half. Never allowed one to slip. Tian Swanepoel gets us restarted. Another high hanging kick, which is well brought in by Daniel Swart. And that is off to Ronan Daniels, and he this time has been met by Jovan Becker. Cade Voliter weighing up his options.
Okay. Yeah, go.
And he does find an outstanding touch, leaving some options here for Jandre Berger, who decides there's enough time to play it quickly. Tian Swanepoel. Swanepoel lining his man up. Swanepoel, he's a great counter-attacking talent. And he takes Paarl Gym beyond the 10-meter line of the boys in maroon. Bobby Alexander. Advantage now being played to Paarl Roos as Reynard Kroos takes it in. Here's Jandre Berger. They play it so quickly to Paarl Gym. It is a pleasure to watch when they are in full flow. Peter Siebert can't hold on. We're going back for the penalty.
About a minute and a half. You can have the lineup if you want it.
And it's for offsides. The third penalty now given away for offsides. And that's just a lack of patience and presence of mind.
Half time after this.
Paarl Gym have managed to capitalize with most of these penalties. They'll look to do so again through the boot of Jandre Berger. Right in front of the posts, about 35 meters out. Shouldn't have any problems.
Jandre Berger, he puts it up and he puts it over. And that is the halftime whistle. There have been some questions on the clock, but that's it for half number one of this Winelands derby, and it really has been a humdinger so far, Mtunzi.
Absolutely incredible rugby. Some of the best rugby I've seen all year. Brilliant first half, and at the end of the half, Paarl Gym lead 22-15, 3 ties to 2 against Paarl Roos.
We are here in the glorious surroundings of Stellenbosch for what is turning out to be a real nail-biter of a match. 7 points separate the two sides, and there have been 5 fabulous tries in the first half. Here to run through those tries with me is none other than Mtunzi Mabeta. How did it all start here, Mtunzi? They were marked up on the outside.
They were, but brilliant work from Gertse. Look at the playmaking abilities of Jandre Berger as well, who finds Gertse on the outside. He's had an individually fantastic first half.
And Paarl Roos were ready to strike back. Here's Cade Voliter. Look at the control that he has with the ball in hand, unleashing Luke Berger, who attacked the line here. He would be dragged down short, but that was not the end of it. In support on the outside, who's it going to be? Talisman, Cade Voliter in the corner.
What a brilliant line out. I love this try. Brilliant offload coming in for Stefan du Toit, who still has so much work to do. Maybe a little bit of poor defense, we don't know. What a try by the inside center for Paarl Gym.
And it continued. Jandre Berger, who's been impressive in the 10 for the Gummies, all the way to the outside from Swanepoel. But just look at this. Gertse with one to beat, with another to beat. He keeps on going across field, gasses that man, steps back outside, and continues his way to the corner, a la Dave Campese.
Brilliant play. It was a turnover. It came by the Arno Jenop. Short line, the epitome of an inside center. Looks for support, finds Berger out wide. Brilliant for Paarl Roos. We've got some statistics to share. Line out, 6 out of 6 for Paarl Gym. They've capitalized from their set phase, and I think that's been the big difference, capitalizing on ill discipline from Paarl Roos as well. both 22s of either side, 16% and 50%. But look at that 44% being played in Paarl Roos. Most of the ball in Paarl Gym's hands.
Tunzi, looking at those line-out stats, as we mentioned pre-match, Dylan Deleu was the starting lock for Paarl Roos. He had to pull out just before the game, and there's been some shake-ups. Do you think that perhaps is contributing to the problems that the side in maroon are having here today?
Look, I think they're maybe not capitalizing from their line-outs as much as they would have liked. Paarl Gym has given them problems there. Defense hasn't been looking too good with the back three as well, coming from Paarl Roos. A couple of tries that maybe shouldn't have been scored from Paarl Gym. So maybe the scoreline not really depicting exactly what's happening on the pitch, but so much work to be done for Paarl Roos if they want to get it right, discipline-wise.
Another fine take from a kickoff from Paarl Roos, and that is Daniel Swart once more underneath the ball. These kickoffs are very well measured, just slightly too long for the Gummies to arrive in time. And as Paarl Roos try to run it out from deep again, have they cost themselves? Down hurt as well as Calvin Louis. And Paarl Gim seem keen to capitalize. Lone Nell carries it forward. Bobby Alexander, he sends it left. And it's Reinhard Kroos. Paarl Roos will have to scramble here and defend hard to make sure that Gummies aren't the first side to score here in the second half. Bobby Alexander with quick ball to Berger. And it's away to the back line now through the hands of Wilson. On the outside, being dragged down as Stravino Jacobs. Looked like a Paarl Roos player might have put a hand in the way there on the ground. But it is a knock-on call. Advantage to the home team. Arno Hierop carries it up. And Paarl Gym may have strayed offside.
You still got knock-on advantage?
No, it's a knock-on advantage still. Kate Voliter. Wow, they're moving it from right on their own try line. They have absolutely no fear with ball in hand. Will they find space? No, superb tackle, and what a crucial one it was on Andrew Pegg. The call is for the player to release. Clearly his knees are on the ground. And this is Hierop. And this Paarl Gym defense is stalwart. There's no numbers really on the outside here. Voliter has to look for the cutting run of Luke Berger. And he does find that run. Zander Buerta. Paarl Roos are playing a dangerous game here because Paarl Gym continue to attack the ball on the ground. And Stefan Dutoy has now had an advantage called against him for trying to go for that steal. Zander Buerta. And here's Tian Pretorius. They back themselves to take on these Paarl Gym defenders while looking them dead in the eye.
Let it come.
And they certainly have the skills. Tian Pretorius, SA under-18 sevens captain this year, the number 13 for Paarl Roos. Robbie Rogers carrying it up just beyond the 22-meter line. Now for all their hard work, 9+ phases. And the advantage is now over, which is an interesting one for Paarl Roos. So they'll have to continue with ball in hand. Spaces behind the Paarl Gym backline can inform you of that. If they choose to come to this side, Voliter looked like he saw those gaps just for a moment. And then he sent out a challenging pass to Luke Berger, who decides to take on Gertza. Inside to Jared Cairns, who loses it in the tackle to Tian Swanepoel, standing strong.
Fantastic defense by the back three of Paarl Gym.
As they continue to do sterling work on D. Bobby Alexander, quick ball on attack as well, Jandre Berger. And here is Pierre Siebert. Oh, he is uncompromising. He's been doing it all day. Berger keeps it moving. Here's Stravino Jacobs. Paarl Gym will be eager to get him involved in more areas of the game in the second half. Alexander, Gerard van Niekerk. They are looking more polished right now, Paarl Gym. Jandre Berger. Oh, they keep it moving, the Gummies, but it's gone behind the back line, and Liam Kompian has to get back to dive on the ball. And they are now behind the halfway line. Gertza. And that's Jandre Berger with an excellent kick, very challenging for Cade Croy, who manages to stop the ball before it heads towards the touchline and tries to respond with a kick of his own, and he finds a safe touch.
Wow, it's like watching two perfectly matched boxers in a ring. Just don't know which side is going to break through, get a punch through. Great play coming from both sides strategically. A good clearance coming in from Cade Croy.
Tunzi, during the break, we were speaking about the possibility that these Paarl Roos players, coming back from winning that Sanix tournament in Japan, might be a little bit underprepared for the big challenges of Boland Rugby. Let's speak about that shortly. Kompian feeds another perfect line out to Marco van Rijn, the captain and head boy of Paarl Gym. Oh, into the midfield they go. Bobby Alexander with quick ball to Siebert. Oh, Siebert is stopped this time by Tiaan Pretorius with a little help from his friends. Burger plays it short, wonderful hands outside to Swanepoel. Swanepoel is active here in the second half, and he's made meters off of Jared Cairns. Gerard van Niekerk. Bobby Alexander with quick ball to Jandre Burger. They're moving it with Juan Wilson, and they cannot connect on the outside with Stravino Jacobs, who is just waiting to be unleashed here today.
Going back over here. Get that
And a
mark
penalty
me.
advantage as Paarl Gym are dominating the second half.
No, they are. And to go back to what you were mentioning, Paul, which I think is actually a really important thing to mention.
Offside,
Paul
14.
Roos, it does look as if they're just not there physically, especially on defense.
Yeah,
you can
yes,
see
offside.
that. And maybe they haven't been challenged coming from the Sanix World Championships. Maybe they haven't been tested. We saw that they won 52-5 in the final against the St. Peter's New Zealand side, which is really good, you know, where Gimmies has played in the past 8 games, 6 of the opponents have been in the top 20. So Bobby Alexander getting it quickly, missing tackles. We see a tackle being missed there. That time it's Daniel Swart, and maybe they're just a little bit out of touch in terms of how physical they are in the contact.
Very good chance of that. They've had 2 weeks to rest as well. 1 week rest for Paarl Gym, who lost to Grey Bloem at the Wilde Klaver Festival in Kimberley. So that's the last game that Gym played. That was against Grey College, and we know those guys are meaty. And here's a chance to take the game away from a 7-point difference, and it is Jandre Burger. Burger, is this one going to stay on target? Yes, it is. It's a 10-point game.
Yep, and the coaches are happy. They put up their hands, they write down the points. Paarl Gym on point so far.
You see those celebrating supporters of the schools. You'll see plenty more of that through the Super Quick Premier Interschools Series of 2019. We are heading into the middle section of it now, and the big derbies are coming up soon, including, of course, the Paarl Derby, the biggest schoolboy match in the entire world. Bobby Alexander sends it back to Jandre Burger. Burger launches it long, and the Paarl Roos supporters are trying to get behind their team now. If you can hear that
Taken back.
noise, it's coming from the young men in maroon. Luke Burger now on the outside as Paarl Roos are desperate to run this ball from everywhere. Down goes Tiaan Pretorius. Zander Botha, oh, knocked back in the tackle. That is powerful stuff.
No, last feet, push back.
Calvin Louis caught behind the line. Arno Hiernop having to fight to get across the advantage line. But there is a penalty advantage to Paarl Roos for offside from Paarl Gym. They're going to try to work the space here. It's Jared Cairns, the captain, is dragged in by the tackle of Stefan du Toit. Advantage over, and Paarl Gym attacking that ball. Botha plays it blind. Ronan Daniels having to work to keep the ball in field. But it's hard work to get across the advantage line every time for Paarl Roos. Now they're finding some fluidity.
No hands.
The production of the ball from the ruck not as fast as that of Paarl Gym. It's Meiding Eerbeson carrying it that time. Zander Botha out to Cade Voliter. Tiaan Pretorius looks for a gap in the stalwart line of the Gimmies defense, but the Gimmie guts are showing up big time right now in the second half. Robbie Rogers, Botha, Voliter, skips out Ronan Daniels out to Cairns. And back into Ronan Daniels, but the tackles continue to rain down on the boys playing in maroon. Turned the ball over there briefly, I think, Paarl Gym, but ran into touch by Stravino Jacobs.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. No last ball.
Defense out on the wingers. So good for this Gimmies side.
Here's the middle. Yeah, guys, keep it clean, please.
Ronan Daniels has been really busy. 7 out of 7 lineouts for Paarl Gym to 0 out of 3 for Paarl Roos. They need to get it right now, Paarl Roos, if they want to stay in this game.
He needs to be back.
They'll be getting nervous now, Mtunzi, don't you think? 10 points behind. They'll fancy themselves as the best school in the country right now. They've just won the World Schools Championship, so they're meant to be the best schoolboy team in the world.
No, look, exactly. But as soon as you come back to South Africa with Grey College at #1 and Gimmis at #2, it's back to reality for them.
They set the rolling maul here to Paarl Roos. There's some disruption in there from the Gimmis side. All's well. Zander Botha gets it away to Andre Smit.
No hands.
No hands the call, but Paarl Gym have looked to slow the ball down, and they've done so effectively. That ball has been knocked on off the inside pass. And Andrew Pegg could not hold on. It's been turned over, and Jandre Burger launches it downfield, bringing an end to the scrum advantage. Back there to receive it is Kate Croy. Croy with all the time in the world. Paarl Gym are managing this game wonderfully well so far in the second half, protecting their 10-point lead. We're almost 10 minutes into it now. Oh, that is an offensive line that will not be compromised. Andreas Volt knocking the man backwards. Bobby Alexander. And Pirach Siebert lining up opposition defenders and trying to knock them backwards. Ronan Daniel stands strong. The depth of the back line from Paarl Gym continues to be exemplary. Stefan du Toit tries to get it wide, but Kate Croy has intercepted that ambitious pass. Zander Botha, can they get this ball wide, Paarl Roos? They have no intention of doing so at first. It's Daniel Swart. Zander Botha, Kate Voliter. Voliter doing it himself, and he's cut them wide open. Voliter, Pony stepping into it as well, and Zander Botha just outside him. They would do well to take this to ground outside the 22-meter line of Paarl Gym. They send it to the left. The dummy runner was Calvin Lewis, and the man who takes it up is Anu Hienop.
You're lost it now.
Ball retention so crucial now for Paarl Roos, and it's Robbie Rogers. Zander Botha weighing up his options. He looks left and right and sees Paarl Gym defenders everywhere. The grubber is lovely for Tian Pretorius. His touch off the boots leaves plenty to be desired.
How good was the work from Bobby Alexander?
Well, he's all over the park. Defense and attack. He defies his size, Bobby Alexander.
No advantage, knock on.
And they will have another opportunity at the Paarl Gym line.
Sub 18. Sub again.
Yep, the lungs will be burning. It's a frantic pace of rugby being played. Great option by Kate Voliter. Bounce doesn't go Tian Pretorius' way though.
Let's go, Jens.
And the big man. So DeLiu comes on now for Wild. That's Andreas Wild, who come on into the lock position.
Okay, let's go,
Quick
Jens.
reminder for the people of Mtunzi. In 2015, Paarl Roos won the Sanex World Schools tournament as well. Their first opposition when they came back.
Paarl Gym.
And Paarl Gym ended up winning that match just 4 years ago. So will history repeat itself here? It's up to Paarl Roos to make sure it doesn't.
5, 6.
Right now, Kate Voliter is standing on the left wing, and in the fly-half position is Jared Cairns. So crash ball might be an option, and here he is, Jared Cairns, straight at them. He sets the first ruck. Roos come peeling around the side, and it's Andre Hienop.
No, let it come.
Hienop sets it even more centrally towards the poles. This is the time for Paarl Roos. It's Calvin Louis. He heads for the line.
Jam last feet.
Presentation of the ball at ruck time for Paarl Roos has not been very quick. Bobby Alexander has been providing quick ball for the Gimmis all day long. Another penalty.
13, come here. It's a clear ruck, and you've gone in with your hands, so we're 5 minutes from the try line, okay? You're going.
How's it?
I think the referee, Amy Barrett-Taron, has got it right. You know, it has been, there have been a few too many penalties close to the 5-meter line, so close to the try line, and Ethan James gets sent to take a breather, take a chill pull. But Paarl Roos looking so dangerous with ball in hand. It's just coming out a little bit slower than it does for Paarl Gym. Is Bobby Alexander the reason for that? Is that the big difference?
Was he in the
Hard
forwards?
to tell.
No, okay, then you can lose one.
Big
that's
moment now for the home
fine.
side.
It must be even. You must stay in the forwards.
A large blind side
If
to
it was a
attack to.
backline player, you must stay in the forwards. 8.
Oh, well, there you go, Mtunzi. They tried to get a player out of the scrum there, but the rules are the rules.
Yes, we've got 8.
Amy Berreteron.
Crouch. Bind. Set.
So the number 8, Juan Wilson for Paarl Gym, is connected to the scrum, and Paul Roos should have an extra man in the back line here. Zander Botha. He taps Jared Cairns. Jared Cairns. He's going straight for the line, Jared Cairns, and he's not done yet. Jared Cairns. He gives it one more stab, but this time he's surely held up, and it might not be able to come back.
In the end goal. Hold up.
Paarl Gym's defense. These are humming guts they talk about.
Gents, relax. Relax.
Spot on, Paul
Relax.
Stubbs.
Not today, okay?
He's been so strong for them. Massive strength shown by Jared Cairns.
Further back, please.
How he stays on his feet for this long, I do not know. Jimmy got up to the test though, so they'll have another scrum,
Get your timing right about breaking.
shortening that
Okay.
blind side.
When you've got the number in the back
Crouch.
line, Mtunzi, surely you've got to dish it.
Bind. Set. Put in straight.
Zander Botha to feed this. What is Paul Roos's option this
Who's
time?
that's available?
This time it's Botha who spreads it to Volita, and it's been knocked on by Ronan Daniels. And the Gummies come up trumps once more, down to 14 men. Will they have the chance to clear their lines? They're going to think about running. Stravino Jacobs turns to the boots, and he finds a magical touch.
Wow, and how useful is that? It is a part of the strategy of the Paarl Gym guys. They give it to the first receiver coming from Bobby Alexander and shift it off to Stravino Jacobs. He's got a huge
that
boot.
was close, eh?
Here we see
That
how
last one was close.
the brilliant Ronan Daniels, he runs a perfect line, just unable to collect the ball, looked like confusion. All goes wrong for Paul Roos. We'll have another set phase. This time, lineouts, which hasn't been
Gents,
going
hold the
very
space,
well
hold
for
the
them.
gap.
No, it hasn't.
Okay.
Still a mystery to me,
gap.
Mtunzi, how you don't pass that ball to the outside when a player has been taken off from their back line, specifically the number 13, Ethan James.
Just not getting it right that time.
They go short, trying to change things up, and Eberson cannot connect with Adnu Hiernop.
It's okay, yeah.
Oh, the knock-on is called. Pressure at line-out time. Well, Paarl Gym know what they're doing out there.
So good to see competing in the front of the lineout. You don't see it
same
often
thing
in
here.
schoolboy
Stay
rugby,
higher.
and it's done really well. Low Nell that time.
Time off.
There we are having a look at the handling errors.
Your side. Yeah.
Just listen in to
Yeah.
Amy Bertrand.
You can see it from the, even from the inside. When the game's over. Oh, go on. Yeah. Right there. Okay. Close Nick. Pot. Yeah, go
Big
on.
boys. That's Joe Van Becker. Had a hard time with scrum time.
Okay.
Gets those shoulders warmed up.
Time back on. Let's go.
Well, to all friends and family of Dylan DeLeeuw, he is actually playing in the 5 jersey today, Mtunzi. I thought he was missing, and that might be at the heart of Paul Roos's line-out problems, but now they're going to have to come up with some other excuses.
Played really well as Dylan DeLeeuw at number 5 for Paul Roos.
Thank you.
Strong game.
Crouch. Bind. Set. Stay up. Stay
10
up.
points separate the two sides, and we're into the last 20 minutes of this Winelands derby. Zander Botha at the back of the scrum. Cade Voliter to an onrushing Luke Berger. Plenty of space for the players to run into before meeting defenders. And Cade Croy is upended eventually. Paarl Gym are in over the ball. And they are standing up to the challenge here in Stellenbosch today.
That's such brilliant work. It's all hugs. They know what that means to them. A huge moment in this game. Comes on the inside and look how quickly they're there. Absolutely no time for Jared Cairns and co to do anything. What a steal coming in for Stefan du Toit, who's been exceptional for Gimmies.
I'll hold them so you can assess, okay? Okay,
So is that blonde man low now.
No, he's fine. One
Number
meter.
6 for Gimmies.
Open.
An asset at line-out time.
An almighty noise raining down from the stands. Both schools lifting their voices here, and Gimmies nail another line out. 10 out of 10.
Once going backwards.
Going backwards, the call is to use it once from referee Barrett to run. Bobby Alexander's at the back of this rolling maul. Look how well it's set. Alexander, he gives it off to Stravino Jacobs. Blunt force trauma for Paarl Gym. And he's been effective today, but not as effective as he may be if he was put into some space. Perhaps there's still an opportunity for that. Bobby Alexander off to Peter Siebert. Oh, he looks like he plays a level above most of the players that he's on the field with. He is rock solid. Bobby Alexander, Jandre Berger, they are full of confidence here. Gimmies are moving on the Paul Roos line with intent. Reinhard Kroos is the next in line. Bobby Alexander, Peter Siebert into the tackle of Andre Smit and friends. And now around the corner, Gerard van Niekerk, who has not stopped running today. Bobby Alexander, Jandre Berger. Out it goes to Juan Wilson. And now what a run this is. Eventually dragged down. And Stefan du Toit scored that amazing try in the first half where he kept his feet so impressively. Reinhard Kroos continues forward. That's the 5-meter line of Paul Roos. They are bearing down now, and there's an advantage being played. Bear in mind they're playing with 14 players still, Paarl Gym, and they are dominating this defensive line of Paul Roos. Penalty given.
And that is the byproduct of keeping the ball and playing the phases. Paul Roos just frustrating them, challenging them, forcing them to keep their discipline and keep patience on defense. A hard feat when you've got men like Stefan du Toit, who is nowhere near the size of Mana Nonu, breaking through tackles.
Tom, check your boosting.
Well, taking his time about this one, Jandre Berger, gifted cricketer as well, along with a number of his teammates, including Juan Wilson and Johan Small. They represented the Cape Cobras at the Youth T20 Championship. No problems for Berger.
Yeah.
The glorious Drakenstein mountain ranges in the background, and there are the supporters of Paarl Gym, not just the boys, of course, boys and girls of Paarl Gym.
So proud are the pupils of these schools. And Paul Roos, you can see, haven't been challenged in their past couple of games. Things were a little too easy for them in Japan.
And showing up now, just the third South African school they've played this entire season after Grey PE and Rondebosch many weeks ago now. Gerard van Niekerk crossing the advantage line effortlessly time after time. Bobby Alexander to Jandre Berger. Berger launching this one towards the touchline. It's been touched by Jared Cairns. Will it stay in field? It does, and they must start running from deep now. Desperation stations are starting to be manned by the Paul Roos players. That's come off the side of the boot, and all of a sudden this sounds like it's a home game for Paarl Gym.
Difficult for Cade Volhuter. Does come off the side of his boot, but they are now playing into a slight breeze, which is starting to pick up.
A couple of Gimmies there in your picture. Of course, the old boys and girls can pop down from the very nearby University of Stellenbosch, a stone's throw, almost literally a stone's throw away from this stadium. So the fact that they wear maroon jerseys, just like their Marty's seniors, is no coincidence. These two are deeply connected. Stellenbosch University, in fact, used to be a part of Paarl Roos.
Time back on.
That means not many people from the ages of 17 years old to 25 are coming away from Stellenbosch with any wins.
They're coming away with good times, I can promise you that. And Paul Roos, what a chance this is. And it's Andre Smith breaking away. Crucial tackle. Is that Bobby Alexander? It appears so, around the ankles. Cade Voliter, depth and movement on the outside. It's Cade Croy. Croy looking for the switch. And a switch he does find with Andrew Pegg. But that slows down the momentum, not making use of the massive gaps behind the Paarl Gym backline that have been in existence for the entire match, especially so when they were down a man, which they continue to be. Zanderboorte sends it blind again. Ronan Daniels. The defensive line of Paarl Gym is solid, but they are not leaving enough sweepers in place every time. And Boorte, this time it's an inside ball to Pegg, and Pegg has cut them open. Could not find support. He's dragged down on the 22-meter line. Zanderboorte, and he sent it to Cade Voliter. Voliter trying to get around his man. What a tackle that is from Burger. Oh, they've stopped it in its tracks, and Gerard van Niekerk has dived on it. The hunger of the big boy up front. Has that been rubbed back by Robbie Rogers? Oh, it's getting frantic out there. Zanderboorte, and he finds Daniel Swart. Boorte, Cade Voliter, Tiaan Pretorius. He's tried everything today to break the tackles of the Paarl Gym players, and he's managed to do a couple there.
No, let it come. Let it come.
Let it come is the call from referee Barrett to run.
You're not supporting your body weight.
That's some really hard work from Tiaan Pretorius. He's done well to put pressure on the Gimmies side. Cade Voliter finds touch, but have they sorted out their lineouts? If they were to take one today, this would be the most important one.
Well, lucky. Lucky. That was nowhere close to being completed. Serious problems, Tunzi. Serious problems at line-out time.
I doubt they had to compete so difficultly at line-out time, and Gimmies are all over them, competing every ball.
And it comes over the top of the potential receiver, Daniel Swart, and straight into the hands of Paarl Gym's Juan Wilson. Oh, that's got to be a real coach killer, that. And now with the chance to attack, it's the man who's just returned to the field. It's Ethan James.
Play on.
That was called knocked backwards.
Rock.
Looked slightly dodgy. Ruck called, not happy, is Stefan du Toit for Paarl Gym. But it is going to be a Paul Roos ball, and Robbie Rogers, son of Heinrich Rogers, who played box, nephew of Marius Herter, a man destined to be a quality front ranker, takes it in. Jared Cairns, captain of Paul Roos, he needs to step up for them. That's a turnover ball. Gerard van Niekerk put his hands on it. Well, he might just be a man of the match, acquired one. Props have to do something pretty special to earn the man of the match award, but he's done a lot of special things. Jandre Burger sees the space to kick into. Cade Croy is on the cover, but that is an absolute banger of a kick.
Brilliant from Burger.
2 and 4 yellow. 2 and 4 yellow.
Exceptional play from Gerard van Niekerk.
Just holding there.
The big loose head for Gimmies. What a work rate for him.
Guys, time is still off, captain. Send me your captain.
So Ethan James has come back onto the pitch outside center for Gimmies. So they have 15 men now. Paul Roos unable to capitalize.
Gents, I'm not here to
on
explain
playing
the laws
against
and teach
14
laws of the
men.
breakdown. Guys are talking too much. Tell them to calm down. We're going to play rugby. It's a good game so far. Let's stay in it.
Amy Bergeron is making sure that the game continues to be played in the right spirit, which it has this afternoon. It has been a joy to watch. And it comes another missed line out. Meiring Eberson cannot hit his jumpers. And that's a difficult way to play a rugby match. Paul Roos, they've abandoned the 2-ball as well. Pieter Siebert, he doesn't care about the problems of Paul Roos's line-out. He wants to attack again for Paarl Gym. Here's Burger. He sends it out to Stefan du Toit. Du Toit challenging his defender. Tiaan Pretorius completes the tackle. Bobby Alexander, he's always there. Eric Basson on the carry. Bobby Alexander, there's a part of forward set up, and it's led by Gerard van Niekerk. No surprises there. Berger again now. They are moving it. Peter Siebert's in the back line. Great defense on Siebert today. As many times as he's run, he's been chopped down every time. Made an Eberson involved there. Low Nell, who's been hard at work. And they're in the perfect position right now, Paarl Gym, with a 13-point lead. Should they break the lines of Paul Roos here, surely that's tickets for them. Bobby Alexander, Jandre Berger, Kerwin Gerter, so impressive in the first half to Tiaan Swanepoel.
Push back, push back.
Paarl Gym setting it up, and they have lost control. It went backwards, it would appear. Jandre Berger gets it off to Marco van Rijn, and the captain keeps things moving forward. Bobby Alexander, Jandre Berger, now they're moving it to the left. Stravino Jacobs. Jacobs cutting to the inside. Stravino Jacobs, remember the name.
Stravino Jacobs. The crowd is on their feet, and rightfully so. The danger man has finally got his hands on the ball with some space.
Ben, can I get some power?
And there's no stopping him. What a try.
Heavily marked today, Stravino Jacobs finally made space of his own. Made space of his own to make that try and converted it like a champion.
I'll check for you now.
Kick is up, it is over 35 points to 15.
Tell Ben to tell me the time.
And I don't know if it's the brilliance of the attack or the defense, poor defense coming from Paul Roos. Take nothing away from that man. One of the best in the world at his age. Brilliant, Stravino Jacobs.
Look at him. Meaty left winger of Paarl Gym. Paarl Gym, the school that gave us the likes of Chris Rousseau, David Berry, Andre Pollard, Ashley Johnson, Schalk Berger, Louis Schrader, Jean de Villiers, to name but a few. Up it comes from K de Voliter. Fantastic take. Is that low Nell rising up? Excellent stuff from Paarl Gym. And the rolling mauls that they've set have looked exemplary as well. Very tight and together, not so Mtunzi.
Technically sound, this Khamis
He's
side.
fine.
Look at the body shape. It's just brilliant to take it from such a good kickoff.
And an advantage being played again to Paarl Gym. Ethan James, inspired by his time in the sin bin. And there's trouble here, but an advantage is being played.
Collapse.
Apparently,
Here we go.
having left the field is Leon Compion for
Collapsing
Delaray
the ball
Nell.
on the floor.
And Compion has run these lineouts like a dream for Paarl Gym. This game was won and lost in the lineouts as far as I can see.
100% Paul Stubbs. Paul Roos just looking a little bit rusty.
I'll confirm with the table for you.
Haven't competed against a side of this caliber. One of the best in the world, and it's starting to show.
Well, that was in touch. Was it a foot into touch by a Paul Roos player? It would appear so. This is a Paarl Gym throw into the lineout.
Subs.
Just could not keep that ball in field. And here's how it went down last year, Mtunzi.
Yep, Paul Roos won 32-13. A different tale this time. Is it because
Not
they
enough
played
weight
such a high difference
said
in the
number 9 as
quality of rugby against sides that are much less quality, or playing a
to
much
be a
less
gap,
quality
please.
of rugby against this?
Open. Open.
Paarl Gym coming off a very hard game 2 weeks ago against Grey College.
You.
They just look so silky smooth.
And it comes from Delaray Nell, fighting for it and still getting the ball back. Paarl Gym, even when they get it slightly scrappily. Stefan du Toit. Spread from the base by Bradley Davids. They are bearing down on the line here. Wide it goes, Stravino Jacobs with the hands, and it's Tiaan Swanepoel on the outside. It's a rout here in Stellenbosch.
Time check, Ben.
Well, Tiaan Swanepoel, fullback, has been brilliant on defense. He's connected well with his wingers on attack. But how good is this? Quick ball goes out wide. Stravino Jacobs, his coach Slap Chips, will be so proud of those silky hands. Brilliant play from Gimmies.
Well, this has been a game to remember, Mtunzi. As Jandre Berger lines up yet another kick. The team that lost to Grey College, 33 points to 47 was the scoreline. So just 14 points between them. In spite of that, we might be looking at the second and third best teams in the country this year, possibly even the first come the end of the season. It's between them and Grey, it would appear to me. And here is Jandre Berger for yet another two. Oh, look at that one. Oh, yeah. That is an outstanding kick from Jandre Berger, who continues to display his skills today. And the final whistle is blown here in the Winelands Derby. Charging onto the field are the jubilant Paarl Gym scholars. What a game, Mtunzi. What an afternoon.
One of the best performances by a side this year so far. They were simply perfect. Line out, scrum, kickoff, keeping the ball, the strategy brilliantly played and put together by the coaching staff. The school is behind them. What a huge game, 42-15, probably the biggest scoreline between these two sides on this derby. What a game to watch, what a game to call. Goes 42-15 to Paarl Gym, brilliant.